The new chapter in the continuing Star Wars saga. The Empire Strikes Back. Now, in our galaxy, The Empire Strikes Back. Starts Wednesday, May 21st at a selected theater near you.
"40 years ago, The Empire Strikes Back was released. Can you believe it? 40 years. I thought, what can I do for this? All throughout May, at least once a week, I've been looking back at The Empire Strikes Back, from their upcoming release to the toys. And I thought, well, this week is the actual anniversary, 40 years. So what can I do? I said, well, I'll do a review of The Empire Strikes Back. But you know what I hate about watching reviews, especially when it's an old movie that we all seen? They tell you what the movie's about. The story of The Empire Strikes Back. That's been done. You all know that. But what you want to know is probably my thoughts on The Empire Strikes Back. Well, out of the Star Wars movies, television show, variety show, books, novels, comics, toys, the best thing out of anything Star Wars is The Empire Strikes Back. Now, as a kid, I might would have told you that Return of the Jedi was the better movie. And I can see that looking back. Through a kid's eye, Return of the Jedi is great. But as you got older, matured a little bit, didn't need Muppets as much in your movie, The Empire Strikes Back was the best thing ever. Now, when the original Star Wars came out in 1977, I was about to turn 5 years old. I actually have no really memory of seeing Star Wars, but I do remember seeing it, and I think I saw some of the re-releases. I just don't have memories of 1977, probably. I remember seeing the original Star Wars figures on the store shelves, and I remember being hyped for The Empire Strikes Back. Now, for the release of Empire Strikes Back, I was about to turn, well, let me see here, I was about to turn 7. And I remember being hyped up because between 5 and 6, Star Wars was it. That's all I cared about. Some would probably say it's all I care about now. But I remember being hyped up. I remember not seeing the trailer, but my brother went to see a movie and he saw the trailer and he came back and told me how Darth Vader's head explodes and it says The Empire Strikes Back. I remember seeing TV spots about it, little things on TV here and there, and I was really excited. I couldn't believe it. This was my first Star Wars movie that I could get hyped for. Of course, I wasn't hyped for A New Hope, then called Star Wars, because I didn't know what it was, and I was only going on 5. Although I did fall in love with it and remember playing Star Wars way before Empire Strikes Back came out, I didn't have that hype built up for it. I can't believe I got to see another Star Wars movie. It was an exciting time for sure. And, as you know, my brother and I both had all the toys from Star Wars, and now we had a bunch of new toys. I don't know what it is exactly about The Empire Strikes Back. To me, it's a perfect film. I love the cliffhanger of it. I love a movie that has the balls to give us a cliffhanger that we have to wait 3 years for. You don't see that much today. They give you a good ending and then they might do a sequel later, but they don't really leave you hanging the way Empire Strikes Back did. And if you've never seen Empire Strikes Back, or the first time you see it, especially back then, now I think most people will know the reveal, the spoiler of Luke and Vader, but you couldn't believe it. And I didn't believe it myself. I remember saying Darth Vader's lying. There's no way he's Luke's father. He actually said to the Emperor he'll do anything to get Luke to join him, and that's his anything, his line to Luke. But although I did as a kid probably love Return of the Jedi more, that doesn't mean I loved Empire Strikes Back any less. To me, I always saw the original Star Wars movies as one thing. When people would often ask me, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? When referring to the original trilogy, I would mostly say all of them, all three of them, because it was one story. It was just broken up into three parts. But if you want to get technical and say, well, what part of those three is your favorite? As a kid, again, I would have said Jedi. But after about 15 or 16, it was The Empire Strikes Back. And like I said, even if I was a kid, even if I loved Return of the Jedi more as a kid, there's no doubt about it. Empire Strikes Back was a great film. Changed my life. I remember being sick from school and getting some puff tissues at the grocery store to blow my snotty nose in, and it had Yoda and the Dagobah scene on it. And I would stare at that box for hours. After I used all the handkerchiefs inside and blew snot all in them, I kept the box and put my Star Wars figures in it. Now, this is not my original lunchbox from The Empire Strikes Back, but I did have this very lunchbox. Not this one, but you know what I mean, one just like it. Mine was probably beaten up a lot more than this, but I had a lot of love for The Empire Strikes Back. I would carry this lunchbox for a year. Now, I still loved Empire, but I would always change my lunchboxes out every year. Only a dweeb carry the same lunchbox year to year. I mean, how can I impress Amy Covey with the same lunchbox? But I had my paper tissues. I had a lot of Empire Strikes Back stuff. Actually, this is something I can actually remember getting from The Empire Strikes Back. This is actually, I didn't buy this off eBay. I didn't buy this, at a collector's convention. I bought this in 1980, part of the Burger King Star Wars glasses. I was very likely that back then, if I remember correctly, and I'm going to do a video on these glasses soon, is each week, I think it was each week or maybe each month, they would do a different glass. When I walked in and saw this one, I was actually at Burger King. I mean, back then it was rare to go out to eat. Now it seems like somebody gets fast food or go out to eat every day. Well, before this Cornelius virus. But, man, I love Boba Fett. I still love Boba Fett, if you can't tell. He, next to Han Solo, is my favorite. Boba Fett's my favorite minor character. Han's my favorite major character. But I loved Empire Strikes Back. And I remember getting this glass. And look how good condition it is in. That tells you how much I loved it. I would never put this in the dishwasher. I would hand wash it. It stayed at my grandma's house most of the time. Because I knew that if I took it home, it was going to get dirty. I was going to put some Nesquik in it or Nestle's chocolate milk in it. Get it all stained. Or he would get busted for sure. Or my brother would drink out of it, or maybe let one of his goofy friends drink out of it. No, it had to stay at my grandma's because I knew she would help me take care of it. And it actually stayed over there until probably about the time my grandparents passed away. And I said it's time for the glass to make it to the junk room. But I don't know what to say about Empire Strikes Back because I'm pretty sure most of you feel the same way I do. I mean, it gave us a lot of cool new ships besides new toys. I mean, it gave us a ship that looked like two orange pair of shoes. Who would have told you before The Empire Strikes Back came out, hey, there's going to be a new Star Wars movie and they're going to have a spaceship in it that looks like two orange pieces of shoes hooked together? You would say that sounds like the worst ship ever. But somehow, although it really did nothing, somehow The Empire Strikes Back made the Cloud Car very cool. And let's see what else we have in here. Oh, one thing The Empire Strikes Back gave us, a new stormtrooper. The Hoth Trooper. Imperial Hoff Trooper. Stormtrooper and Imperial Hoff outfit. Whatever you want to call it. It was great to get a new Stormtrooper, even if it was wearing a skirt. I loved the Hoff Trooper. Never really understood why they needed a different costume for the snow, but it didn't matter. I got a new Stormtrooper. I remember back then too, you didn't really see this trooper much in posters and pictures and stuff. So you go to the movies and you would just have this vague memory of the Hoff Trooper. And it was always so odd looking when you did see a picture of it. You're like, oh, I can stare at it. I can finally see what's going on here. I can see the details. Because you really don't get a good look at them in the movie. Oh, one thing I loved about Kenner Toys was that we'll give you a free catalog when you bought a play set or one of the ships. I mean, look at all this great stuff in here from the Empire Strikes Back collection. The Darth Vader carrying case. What kid didn't have a Darth Vader carrying case? I didn't have one. I think every kid had a carrying case of Darth Vader. I knew a lot of people that did. I never had it. I had a shoebox. It was a pony shoebox that I put my Star Wars figures in. And I didn't really carry them because I didn't want to take them anywhere. They stayed at my grandma's house. But everyone I knew had this Darth Vader carrying case. It wasn't the best carrying case to hold figures. As soon as you put them in there and picked it up and walked 3 steps, it would just fall over. Oh man, look at this. The AT-AT Walker. Is there any better toy? The Snow Speeder. I remember getting a Snow Speeder for my birthday at Zayre's. It was one of those times where you didn't get a present. My mom just took me to Zayre's and I had a friend spinning over and went to Zayre's and my mom said, get anything you want. And you know what I got? The Empire Strikes Back Snow Speeder. And I remember how it would light up. I just love looking at those lights. Oh, I need to get one again. I've lost my original. The Imperial Hoff Tack Base. What a lot of fun. Had a cave that would fall in. I never had this one here that looked like an outhouse. Never had that toy. The Dagobah playset. Didn't have that one either. Odd. But I did have a puppet Yoda, and I think I still have it somewhere. The Imperial Star Destroyer playset. Doesn't look like much, but it's got where it counts. I mean, you could hang a figure upside down in it. And it had Vader's meditation chamber. I remember it was on my brother's Christmas list, which is probably on mine also. My grandparents looked for this. Now, it makes me sound like my parents never did nothing, but usually when it came to the Star Wars toy buying, it was my grandparents or my grandmother. My grandfather didn't know what was going on. If it wasn't Hopalong Cassidy, he didn't know anything about it. But we could never find this. I remember for about a year, and we all looked for it. Never could get it. Never had it. Never did. Slave 1, Boba Fett ship. That was a lot of fun because it came with a little honey carbonite. It wasn't really a figure, just a hunk of plastic. But it was very cool. Anything Boba Fett was like, yeah, I can't talk, I'm so excited. Anything Boba Fett related is very cool. An Empire Strikes Back school pencil. If I had this as a kid, I would have got C's in all my classes instead of F's. Got Empire Strikes Back Play-Doh in here. The pistols. Empire Strikes Back switcheroos. What are Empire Strikes Back switcheroos? Well, if you watch the Junkman YouTube channel, you know what that is. Oh. One of my favorite figures of all times, Han Hoth. I love this figure. I don't know what it was about this figure, but this was the one I always wanted to play with. I said in another video how me and my brother would play Star Wars and we would empty out the box and say, he would pick one, then I would pick one, and then he would pick one, and I would pick one of what we were going to play with. This was the first one I would pick out. Since 1980, even well into the Return of the Jedi, although my brother probably didn't play Star Wars much then, Han Hoth was one of the first figures I would go to. Something about the blue coat The working holster, I don't know what it is. Something about the Han Hulk was always a great looking figure. I love that figure. Boba Fett, Slave One. I remember being hyped up for Boba Fett long before the movie came out. Of course, I saw him in the holiday special. I saw him in the commercials. Saw a lot of talk about him. I loved Boba Fett before I even saw the movie. And like I said, I still love Boba Fett today. People ask, what's so special about Boba Fett? He doesn't do anything. Who cares about Boba Fett? Boba Fett, yeah. Anybody that told me Boba Fett, yeah, somebody I didn't want to talk with. I can't really explain it. Now, I know there's some people who probably didn't grow up on the original trilogy that loves Boba Fett just as much, but I think for a lot of us kids that grew up in that time period leading up to The Empire Strikes Back, we just loved Boba Fett so much because first we had the Kenner toy. It was the first Empire Strikes Back figure. It was the coolest figure of those first figures that came out. You were so hyped up for it, it didn't matter that he didn't do anything in the movie. You loved the figure. You loved the look. You loved the lore. You loved everything about Boba Fett, and you forgave the movie that he didn't do much in it. We got another bounty hunter. Forlom. I know you're going to say Zuckus, and somebody's going to say in the comments that Kenner screwed up. Kenner didn't screw up, but I did a whole video about how it wasn't Kenner's fault and how the name was changed in the late 80s. Changed. Not fixed. Changed. To Zuckus. I love the bounty hunters in this movie, and you only get to see them for 30 seconds at the most, if that long. It was just so wild and crazy to see something like that in a movie. How could you not love it? Oh, yeah. This is what made me fall in love with The Empire Strikes Back. Sure, I loved it when I saw it at the theater. But it wasn't until I got it on home video release that I could watch it over and over and over again and really fall in love with it. Again, today's kids, you see a movie 4 to 5 months later, you've got the DVD, you got it streaming. Anytime you want to see it, you can see it. But this took, let me see if it's got a year on it, 1984. This was 1984 before I hit home video. And I doubt I bought it then. Most places only rented it. It was very rare to buy a movie in 1984. So, years later, well, actually, let me be honest with you. We rented The Empire Strikes Back and some other movies, hooked up 2 VCRs, and recorded it. Now, you're thinking this is a VHS, but it's beta. Whew. 40 years. 40 years of Yoda. 40 years of Han Hulk. 40 years of Hulk Trooper. 40 years of a Cloud car and his pilot. 40 years of a Burger King glass. 40 years of the Empire Strikes Back catalog. A little more than 40 years of loving Boba Fett. 40 years of drinking soup out of a Yoda thermos. 40 years of AT-ATs. 40 years of Lando. 40 years of The Empire Strikes Back. Well, I'm sure you guys love the movie also. So in the comments below, let's remember The Empire Strikes Back. Tell me your memories of first seeing it. What you love about it, what you hate about it. Tell me anything you want to tell me related to The Empire Strikes Back. If you think it's overhyped and it's not your favorite Star Wars movie, let me know that too. maybe you think it's the worst Star Wars movie ever made. I really doubt anyone honestly thinks that. Well, happy anniversary, The Empire Strikes Back. 40 years. I can't believe it. Seems just like yesterday. Well, as always, please thumb up my video, subscribe to the channel, and until the next video, we'll talk again.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.